So on this 2011 Malibu, we're going to be replacing the rear upper control arm. This is what it looks like. You're going to start by removing the 19mm lug nuts from the tire, or 3/4. And there it is right there. It's connected with a 21mm nut and bolt in the front with 18mm in the rear. And actually most of these parts that you're going to be removing today is just 18mm. So you're going to need a shallow and deep. Also, if you don't have any half-inch tools, stop right now, go out and buy some. Half-inch pry bar helps, half-inch everything, because like I said, they're big and they're very rusted on there. A lot of penetrating oil and a lot of patience. Now with this vehicle, you do have to remove the subframe, but I don't have a lift and it is a pain to do this on the ground, so we're going to work around it. So let's just get started. One thing that'll really help you out, I know it would really help me out, is having a secondary jack. Because what we're going to do is, we're not going to take off the lower control arm completely, but we are going to remove this 18mm bolt and get rid of the spring. That'll free up a lot of extra space in there to work, which I'll show you here in a second. Once you get that 18mm nut off, you're going to want to and then you're going to take your punch and drive it the rest of the way out. That'll give you that bolt. Now the reason I had the jack underneath here is because obviously the spring's going to be throwing this down. So we're going to gently lower down the jack and let the spring just lower itself down. Now, as I stated before, with the jack supporting the lower control arm, you're going to want to just tap this with the hammer to break that bond. And it's going to fly down really quick, so that's why you would definitely want to have that jack there. And then you can just lower it the rest of the way. So really the only thing that holds this spring on is just pretty much rubber grommets. Not really concerned with the bottom one. You just got to pry and peel off the top one. You'll have to press down on the lower control arm while just separating. Yeah, you can just see it's held on just by that peg right there. So hard to do this with one handed, but here's kind of how it'll look. Like I said, you'll get it down to the top. That's it. Now I just pull out the spring. Alright, so come down near the back of the car. There's the first bolt of that subframe. Now we're not going to remove the whole thing, but removing these two bolts is going to give you an extra ½ inch, and trust me, you're going to want any extra you can get. Now this is an 18mm. You do not actually need the extension, but since I'm using air tools, I can just do that. Now you're going to come over to this other side. Alright, so we're looking at the front of the car. Right behind that member. That's the other guy right there. So like I said, once you remove that bolt, it's going to come down about ½ inch. Now that you got a little extra space with everything, this wire is just held in by this push pin. Alright, I like this little push pin remover. There's going to be 3 of them on the upper control arm itself that you need to remove. Once you remove those 3, zoom in here, there's one right there. You're actually just going to have to cut it off. I haven't found anything that could reach back there, have enough leverage too, but yeah, you're going to just cut that off and move that wire to the left, because that bolt is going to have to push towards the front of the vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead and just get my cutters and cut that. Now here's my tool of choice to get back there to that 18mm nut. It's got a nice little angle on it, and it's It's going to take about every ounce of power that you have to get back there. If you could find an extended one, that'd be even better, but this is just what I have. So that's about how to look. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Alright, so essentially you just want to keep cranking on it with that angle until you see that move, until you see that bolt move. And then you're going to take a normal 18mm wrench and put it on that bolt. Alright, sorry about that. So, yeah, you get an 18mm wrench, put it on that bolt head, and then you just keep cranking away at this nut until you get it loose enough. And then to make life easier, you switch to a ratchet wrench. And then you take it the rest of the way out, and that's quarter turn at a time. But that's why I said, that's why you want to drop that support, because that gives you a tiny bit of extra room for the wrench to move up and down. Alright, so once you take that nut off, don't worry about removing the bolt at this moment. So essentially what you're going to have to do now is, well, for what I'm going to do, since I have air tools, I'm going to drive this bolt out towards the front of the car while taking this 21mm and locking it in right here. But if you don't have the air tools or power, I don't even think, maybe a 20 volt won't even pull this out. I mean, it's in there. My 450 won't even do it. I need a full 1,000 pounds. So you obviously just remove this caliper, get it out of the way, and that'll free up all this room so you can pivot back and forth and get the bolt out. But like I said, I'm not going to do that. So with that locked in, it's kind of hard to drive that out and hold this bolt hold this wrench at the same time, but that's all she wrote. Just drive it the rest of the way out. There you go. Get those together. Makes the front of the arm free. Still under pressure because of that, but now that that's all done, pull that out. Again, I can't really show you back there, but pretty much you're gonna need like a lot of patience with that, because again, that wiring harness is there. So yeah, you're gonna want to keep twisting it left while pulling out, and you'll eventually pass that harness. I'm trying to show you what I mean by that harness right there. So you get that bolt out. You can just wobble this one out. There we go. I'm gonna need 2 hands. Okay, just get that bolt started back in there. Like I said, I don't really tighten it up, but this one is a pretty big pain to put back in, honestly. Once I find the bolt, there it is. All right, so it's got to go in, and it's gonna match up to right here. Once I get it, leveled out and get it started. So as I was saying, once you get it all lined up, you can kind of brace up the bottom of this assembly back. Once you get it through a good amount, go ahead and put your washer and 21mm nut back on, and then drive it the rest of the way in. And then come back in here, kind of same setup as before. Put 18mm on the nut, just drive it in slowly but surely. Alright, so once you get your 21 and your 18mm all put back together, put that wire. This aftermarket part does come with actual pre-drilled holes, which is nice. A lot of them don't. So there, all those can go back in, minus the one that you chopped up back there, but it's not going to go anywhere. I'll leave a link in the description where I got this upper control arms for this Malibu. But pretty much everything that I buy is from Rock Auto. They give me good discounts, and fast shipping. Love dealing with them. All right, so now we got the fun part of putting the spring back on and getting this lower control arm back up. But before I do that, we're going to go ahead and just your long bolt, go back near the rear end of the vehicle. There we go, that caught. And then the shorter one, well, go back up here to the front. All right, I'm gonna have to get underneath the car for this one. So now with your foot, you can lower this down, and you will not be filming, so you'll have two hands, but take this rubber piece, put it on that peg. Yeah, like before, we don't want to really worry about the bottom. Yeah, we'll worry about the bottom when we get this on. I need two hands, I'm sorry guys. There, the top is nice and flush. This is going to get caught, but again, this is all just rubber, so make sure you don't pinch your finger, so just push that up in there to the center. There we go. All right, now it's fully pressurized. So this is where the jack comes into play. We're going to put the jack underneath the lower control arm, lifting it up until it meets this section. All right, so we're just going to jack it up. It'll fully seat on the bottom and the top once you get up so far. Enough pressure. All right. There you have it. Now we'll just put the bolt back in how they had it, and that'll be the last thing to do. And once you get the bolt started, just drive it in. That'll pull it most of the way in. Oh yeah, it's right there. So, once you get this bottom bolt in, check to be sure that your spring is fully seated, which it is. All your bolts are tight, and that's how you replace the upper control arms. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe. Let me know if there's any questions. I can answer them for you best I can. And again, if you don't have the air tools, it's just going to take you a little longer. You might have to do an extra step by removing the caliper, but all this could be done with hand tools. Most of the hard bolts I did do with hand tools. So like I said, a lot of 1/2 inch. So all right, yep, thanks.